on your podcast?
How much of what story?
Just like your life story, like about you.
I don't know.
People know a lot about you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they know a lot about me, but today's about you. Actually, that's not true. Some people choose to interview, and some people choose to be a conversationalist. I choose to be a conversationalist, which means that I'm not just going to sit here and ask you a bunch of questions. I like to contribute.
That's the vibe.
Welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired with Aussie Films. I like to start off every episode with my why behind the podcast, which is that I want to inspire you to invest in soul wealth. So not the classic wealth, which is building up your money, possessions, achievements, or status, but soul wealth, which is the quality of your relationships and the quality of your memories. Today, I'm here with Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan is a serial community builder, which might not make sense, but we'll get into in a little bit. He is a very wise man. Go ahead and introduce yourself the way you like to be introduced.
Yeah, my name's Jack Ryan, like the movie.
Yeah.
TV shows, books. I grew up in Minnesota, went to school at the University of Colorado, and honestly, just to start off, like you share community building right off the bat. Communities have shaped me into who I am, and in all senses. And when I was 18, all it took was this one person, this one individual that came into my life and exposed me to this new community, and I was able to literally flip my life 180 degrees. Like I was in the lowest point of my life, and all because of this one individual coming into my life, exposing me to an amazing group of people that were honestly focused on soul wealth. Maybe not soul wealth, maybe more wealth. Yeah. But it was just a new world for me. So that's where my heart is in the community building space and helping other people, find their communities, because it's a lonely game we play in, and it's easy to feel like you're all by yourself, and I'm out here trying to find my communities all the time as well. So
wow, interesting that you're from Minnesota. That explains why you're so tall. I didn't realize you're from Minnesota.
Is that a thing in Minnesota? I didn't know that.
Minnesota people are so tall. Everyone I've ever met from Minnesota is just tall.
Fair enough.
But you're the most beautiful man I've seen from Minnesota.
That's a fact.
Guy's a male model. Could you elaborate on what that dark time looked like, who that guy was, and what was the community that brought you out of this?
Yeah. Who that guy was, I'll start with that. Just an adrenaline rush, adrenaline seeker.
Yeah.
Very good-hearted human, I think, still. I meant well, but I was just searching for that next adrenaline hit, rush, whatever it was. And specifically, I think I was just caught up in proving people something.
Yeah.
And so that ever since I was 13, 14, I would just kind of got in the substance abuse game. And I really, by the time I was 18, going to a school where that was the culture at the University of Colorado, I got into a fraternity, and I just completely took it to the next level. And by the end of the year, 7 months of being at CU Boulder, I ended up having 6 offenses, almost getting expelled from the school. I probably should have got expelled from the school. And at that point, I was lost. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. And one day I just started taking one little small actions at a time. Like after my last offense, I called my lawyer. I called everybody I knew in my network that maybe could help me out. And I just took these little small steps that then compiled into cool things started to come my way. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that came my way was this random call when I was truly in the lowest point of my life. I was 18 years old. I got a call from this company called Cutco. And you guys may have heard of it, but I was slanging kitchen knives to go to people's homes, sell kitchen knives, and just the entire community, the entire group, all the salespeople were so ambitious, so driven, so looking for more. And I was able to take this addictive personality. I guess you'd say I was addicted to the party lifestyle. I was able to put that addictive personality towards work and personal development and sales, and now I'm kind of stepping out. That was 4 years of being an addict, a workaholic almost, and now these last 3-4 months I'm stepping away, slowing down a little bit, and realizing I don't have to label myself as an addictive person.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that right now. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Wait, so that company you mentioned, Cutco, immediately rang a bell in my head. My brother works for that company too.
Yeah.
I heard that it was a pyramid scheme. Is that not true?
So I honestly still don't even know the answer to this question because, you know, being in the community, being a part of the organization, working for the organization and having a lot of success and from my understanding is like any other sales gig. It's like any sales role, you get recruited by a sales manager, and the sales manager gets a piece of what they help you sell. Like they're coaching you, they're training you, so then they're gonna get a piece of what you sell. And it's when you say pyramid scheme, like I think of all businesses, I guess, are a pyramid, right? So it's like every business is a pyramid. To answer the question, I think you can call it multi-level marketing of some sort. The thing is, when people call a pyramid scheme, it has a really negative connotation, and that makes it it makes sense because Cutco is such a large organization where they have companies, they have offices around the entire nation.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna find bad managers, you're gonna find bad individuals that are treating their employees wrong and doing weird, sketchy things.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that comes from. And I was fortunate to be blessed with one of the best division managers in the company. Dane Espegard was like my first leader that came into my life and changed everything for me. So yeah, you'll find some good people in there if you get lucky.
So you talk about how you were addicted to substances, or maybe not addicted is the right word, but you drank heavily all the time, and you found your first community in a fraternity, which I also was in a fraternity. And last night we briefly talked about why is it that so many kids go to college and they're willing to join the organization of a fraternity, but they're not willing to join a business club or a speech and debate club or a Sell Knives or Cutco. And what makes a fraternity so much more appealing as a community option than these other places?
Yeah, I mean, we chatted about it a little bit yesterday. It's just like, the fraternity sells you on having a fun time.
Yeah.
Like having, I think one thing that I learned from my last boss, I was working for a community of seasoned entrepreneurs and executives called the Legendary Life Movement. I heard this repeatedly from my boss, Tommy Breedlove, who's a best-selling author and speaker. Talks about how men are just looking for status, they're looking for power and all these different things and money, and I think that fraternities just shine a light on that, and it's like this is your route to achieve those things, and then when they achieve them, they realize, oh, that ain't it.
Yeah.
Like, you know. So I think they just the fraternity lifestyle just hits deep. It hits home at what people think they want.
Yeah. So I feel passionately about fraternities because I exist heavily in the religious space and I exist heavily in the self-help space. And both of those spaces will tear apart fraternities. They say they're these horrible places that make kids drink alcohol and it's all about sex and drugs. And to a degree, they're right. But as I explained to you last night, a lot of kids will come from broken homes, or they'll come from places where they felt they didn't belong, or high school where they had no friends, and they'll go and join a fraternity in college. It'll be the first place they ever experience community. And we live in a world right now where we're at the highest suicide, highest depression, highest rates of people claiming that they are lonely. And so community is so necessary. You believe that it's your life's mission to build communities. How do you plan on making other creators or other companies that you want to build communities for them? How do you plan on making them appealing like a fraternity might be appealing?
I love that. And I think when it comes to my life mission being building communities, I think that might not be exactly what it is. I'm still like searching. We're at this event here, Creator Camp to specifically surround ourselves with other creative individuals who are building and creating their, what's unique, what's authentic to them. And so like I'm here for that reason, to figure out what that next step is for me, as I recently stepped away from my job.
Yeah.
I think what I see is like everybody wants community. Everybody wants to cultivate community for their followers, for their people. And like, it's such a thing. Like everybody knows community, like it's a thing that's talked about. Like everybody wants to build community, or they want to make their community better and bigger. The issue is it's just hard to, it's hard to really make money off of these communities and keep them authentic and keep them real and keep them like fraternities, I guess, figured that out. But I guess like, the game I hope to play in is helping these community builders basically stay in their zone of brilliance and stay in their expertise. They don't have to step away and put their energy towards building these events and putting these things together. So I mean, like when it comes to answer your question, there's a thing called the first 8 months of this year when I moved to Atlanta and I started working for Tommy Breedlove. I basically Monday through Friday, at least I was networking event every single Monday through Friday. And what I noticed there was 0 young adults there. It was always older individuals. Yeah. And these networking events, like I enjoyed them. They're uncomfortable, but I enjoyed them. I got a lot out of them. I learned a lot. But like nobody goes to these events that are our age, and they're just because they're not appealing. They don't sell, like they don't sound like a fraternity. Yeah. And so I think like something that I want to step into. I think about a recent event I went to with Alex Benai and his Possibility Festival, putting on things that are experiences that are fun and they're enjoyable, and they're like unnetworking, almost like unnetworking events. Like they're not networking events, and just like trying to find out ways to market those events to bring people together.
I think, to jump in here, even this event that me and Jack are at, it's called Base Camp. It's thrown by the company Creator Camp. There's 40 creators here. So there's unlimited networking opportunities, but they don't advertise it as a networking thing. They advertise it as a place to make real friendships, a place to work on your own, almost like a WeWork, like you can work with others. But it's not like a VidCon or a Vid Summit where it's like you show up, you learn the secrets of the industry, you get to apply them. And it's interesting that these clubs like Speech and Debate, these business events, or even just events that are going to take you to the next level, there's almost like an ambitious barrier to entry, which I think is good because you don't want everyone showing up at the event. But the bad thing is that a lot of people just aren't going to take that step. They aren't going to want to show up to a community that they don't feel like they belong in. And it's weird, like you said, you would go to all those networking events, which I've been to similar networking events, and you're the youngest person in the room. And people always say, surround yourself with more successful people, surround yourself with harder workers and those who have accomplished more. But as we mentioned last night, it's lonely.
Yeah.
It's lonely. Who if you really made it, what does making it mean? You're now a big businessman with a bunch of other big businessmen. Like,
I got 2 things to jump in on that. Like the big reason why I quit my last position is because I was building network with these older, seasoned individuals, very successful, externally successful individuals who had made it big in business, leading huge teams. And I was always the youngest in the room, and they were always telling me like, dude, props to you, like you're in such a good place. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but like I'm building network with people that are 30 years older than me. So like I think about 20 years down the road, all these people are going to be 80 years old. Yeah. When I'm trying to live a life with people and like consistent. So that was one thing. And then I think to answer like the initial question you asked is how to get people in on these communities and like market them as fun and market them as like that. There's a really cool example. I met this woman in the Frankfurt, Germany airport. She was leaving Germany to go to France to go to a surf hostel and work at this surf hostel. And she told me at first, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, you're just going to be surfing.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a vibe. Like, I would love to do that, work, volunteer and just surf when you're done volunteering all day, every day. And then she further dives in and she talks about how this hostel is in the bottom of a church. And so the owner of the hostel is very faith-based.
Yeah.
And most people that work at the hostel are really deep into their faith. But it's not like if you come to this hostel, you have to be a Christian. Yeah. If you come to this, what the hostel's marketing is surfing. It's like, yo, come surf with us. Come have a good ass time and surf with us. And then when they go to the hostel, it's not like they're like breathing down their neck and telling them they have to be Christian. It's these Christians are just leading by example and just living their life, surfing, loving life. And then eventually these people that are just visiting to surf, they're going to start asking questions. Yeah. Like, they're going to see this, like, there's something different about these people. Yeah. And they're going to just like get exposed to something they had no clue and they had no expectations of getting exposed to. And another girl, Sky, she's also at this event. She hosts yoga retreats in Costa Rica. Yeah. And all it is marketed as yoga retreats, but there's so much deeper work inside of that. And so I think that's where you really have to play the game. And it's like, you just got to market something fun. And it's not like when they get there, you just start shoving all this stuff down them. It's just like, it's open. It's open. Yeah. Like, you have chances to then connect into these different pathways that you would have never signed up for this event if it was about, doing deep breath work and deep meditation. But you might be open to it when you're there. So
it's what you said, the quote last night. I mean, I'm sure you didn't come up with it, but you sell them on what they want and you give them what they need.
Yeah.
I thought that's
Tommy Breedlove.
Breedlove.
That's my ex-boss.
Shout out.
Great man.
Topic switch. You recently did a fruit fast, which we both kind of have a mentor, this guy named Elliot Bisnow. He's a vegan and he's recommends these fruit fasts. Every time I ask him about it, he will not tell me anything about it. Like, you've done it. What is a fruit fast? What does that look like? What are the benefits? Because I know fruit has like a ton of sugar in it, and I'm a huge fruit fan, but I just don't understand eating it breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. So I've been, just to give you a little background, food, nutrition, fitness has been a huge part of my life because I've had this like sort of fat kid syndrome. Like, I always view myself as a fat kid. Yeah. When I was 12 years old, I lost 28 pounds doing my MyFitnessPal. I hopped on MyFitnessPal. I tracked my calories for months. 12 years old. Ever since then, it's been a thing. So it's always been in my life, and it's always been I've been so conscious of it. I'm so in my head about it. So like, I'm always trying different things. And before I met Elliot, my diet was like, I'm tracking like 150 grams of protein each day. I'm like doing what the fitness world is telling you to do. If you want to build muscle and lose belly fat, whatever. And all of a sudden I go from literally eating 150 grams of protein every day, like chowing down all the chickens, all the protein shakes as much as I can, feeling bloated all the time, but I didn't even know I was feeling bloated. All of a sudden I go from that to just strictly fruit. Like, just one day, just like said, screw it, I'm gonna do it.
Were you still that age when you tried it?
No, this was like 6 months ago.
Okay.
Or like 4 months ago. I was eating this major protein heavy diet, and then somebody just told me about this fruit diet, and I'm just kind of spontaneous. I was like, let's just go.
At your body goals, or where?
No.
But you weren't fat.
No, like, I still view myself as fat. Like, I still like.
You think right now you're fat?
Like, I'm getting over that right now.
Oh, you got body
dysmorphia. Yeah, it's fucking wild. It's definitely wild. And so like, this fruit thing like totally helped me out with it, with that specifically. But what it did, I'll give the results first. Is like, the major result was like, I started actually like being able to feel how everything affected me in my life. Like, not only food, not like every time I put any sort of food in my body, I can instantly tell, like, is this serving me or is this draining me? Is this filling me or is this draining me? And then now it's like, I can even feel when I'm eating the right way, I can even feel certain humans. If they're draining me or filling me, I can like feel it in my body. it's nuts what that did spiritually for me, the fruit fast.
Okay, wait, I gotta jump in because this is interesting. So you were saying that
I kind of skipped.
The fruit fast made it so that you can feel what food gives you energy, what food takes away, and that even as far as people. Okay, that's interesting that you say that, because that is something that I've taken on this year, where I'm extremely conscious of what food gives me energy and takes away, and extremely conscious of what people give me energy and what takes away. But the kicker for me was I got an autoimmune disease. So I have a problem. And before, I was so like David Goggins, worked so hard that I ate well, but I never thought about it. I just would eat, and I would eat whatever I wanted, and I was always skinny, and I never had a struggle with weight. And I didn't really feel like food affected my mood, and I didn't really feel like certain people affected my mood, although they probably did, and I was just unaware.
Yeah.
And then when I got sick, the primary issue with my autoimmune disease is it makes you feel weak and lethargic. And so I'm just my baseline weakness is just way more dominant than it used to be. And now being so weak this year, I've considered it a blessing in disguise, because it's made me extremely susceptible to what food gives me energy and what food takes away. And in the past, I could eat ice cream, I wouldn't think about it. Now if I eat ice cream, I feel horrible later. And the same thing with people. I could hang out with anyone. Obviously, I had preferences, but now if I hang out with someone who drains my energy, I'm super aware of it. And so it's funny that that has come from two like very different stimulations.
What works for you on your diet then? Like what? Because that's the one thing I want to say. Like this fruit thing worked really well for me, and I know somebody who eats carnivore diet, and whenever he eats a veggie, whenever he eats a vegetable, he feels like shit. He feels inflamed. So it's it's very personalized.
I think that is a thing too, is that every 10 years or so in the food industry, they'll say a new thing's bad and a new thing's good.
Yeah.
And we have all reason to believe that the current information is the best information because we have the best technology, but there's nothing to say that the trend's not going to keep going, where we're going to keep switching what's good and what's bad.
I have something really on this that Elliot helped me, our mentor, helped me sit through. He basically, when I first met him, this is hilarious. When I first met him, I show up to his house in Miami. I didn't know what to expect. I met him previously before, barely knew him. I go to help him move out in his place in Miami, and I show up, and for literally 4 hours, all we're doing is we're driving around the streets of Miami, picking fruits off trees and eating fruits. And I was like, what the hell is, what are we doing? This is what he does. But it was such a wild thing. And then I realized, he doesn't wear, any of the whoops or the Oura rings or anything. Yeah. And what he maybe said, or somebody heard this from him, where the best tracker is we're always trying to track through MyFitnessPal and through the whoops and the numbers. Yeah. But the best tracker is how you feel. Yeah. And nobody slows down to figure out how this is making you feel. Yeah. And that was what this fruit thing unlocked, where I was holy, this is game changing. All I have to do is whenever I try anything, trying to change any habit, I just have to slow down and see how it makes me feel, because that's the best tracker, not the new research article that came out telling me that I need to eat this food. It's all about how does this make my body feel, me personally, because everybody's so personalized.
That's interesting. I'm super big on mindfulness, which is, to give the audience a definition of mindfulness, it's thinking about what you're thinking about, or being aware of your emotions, not just experiencing them. Asking yourself, why do I feel the way I do? I think it's interesting on that food example, because I could even talk about sleep. What's the sleep thing in the self-help world? Wake up at 5 a.m., grind. And now there's a new wave that says, wait, no, that's actually bad. You want to get 9 hours every night. And it's funny because I used to feel guilty about staying up late and not being one of those morning people. And so I was all right, I'm Mr. Discipline. And now I changed my sleep schedule, go to bed at 9 p.m., wake up at 6 a.m., and I was doing it. And it was fine, but I found myself much less productive than when I was a nighttime person. And I listened to this sleep doctor. He's the #1 sleep doctor in the world, Matthew Walker. He said, in our genetics, we have a gene about which one you prefer. Because if you think about hunters and gatherers, someone had to do the night shift, someone had to do the day shift. If you come from a family of night shifters, you're gonna operate better working in the night.
Wow.
And that's interesting too. But I think the most important point of that is that for food and for anything related to the body, there generally isn't a one formula fits all.
No.
Because even if you just think food logically about like your nation's background, if your whole lineage ate one way and you eat a different way, you probably adapted to eat a certain way. Now you're going against it. And that is why my belief, if I had to give someone a one source fits all, I would say, this is the way I explain it, is in the word source. So a one source would be anything that directly comes from God, I guess you could say. That would be like sunlight, plants, animals. And then like a two source would be like, all right, say you have grapes. That's like a one source. A two source would be like, you turn that into jelly. And then a three source would be like, now that becomes an Uncrustable.
Yeah.
And so my belief is that it's not so much the food, and it's much more the processing and the changing of it from its natural state. Because if you think about it, for almost all of history, people just ate what came from the earth. And now, when we're getting diabetes and everyone's overweight, it's because we've taken the food from the earth and we've made it our own. We've thought like, oh, we're better than the earth at making food, and we've processed it and used fertilizer. And so it is my belief that the best, if you want a formula for fitting, that you should avoid processing as much, avoid human involvement as much. That's my belief.
Yeah. If God made it, eat it. Like if God didn't make it, don't eat it. And that's what the fruit fast is all about. It's not like the fruit fast completely cleansed out everything in my body. All the toxins that I had gathered up from all the BS that I put in my body, like completely cleansed, like full on cleansed through. And then the idea of it is like after I was done with 20 days of eating only fruit, no caffeine, no oil, no salt, no nothing, just fruit and water. At the end of that, I was like, I don't want to go back to how this shit made me feel. So I started like just doing like more like raw foods, like we call them like foods that are alive. So like anytime you cook a food, it actually is killing a lot of the nutrients. So it's like raw foods is kind of like the diet that for me like makes me feel so damn good. It elevates my consciousness to the next level. I feel wild saying this, but like me and my buddy joke about it when we're on like this fruit diet and this raw vegan diet. We literally feel like Jesus Christ. Like I'm not like that. like
Oh God,
yeah. It's a joke, but it's like that's literally, we feel so much higher consciously than ever before.
Now I have a question though, specifically about the fruit fast. Did you feel during the fast? Did you feel a lot better, or was it after that you noticed the results?
Like during the fast, there's like day 3 through like 7. There was like a lot of energy shifts.
Yeah.
Like there's like points in the day where I'm like pretty low on energy.
Yeah.
But then like all this but like still during that, I was still like really vibing with it. I was still really liking how it made me feel. And one, like for me, like I think a big thing is I just love food so much. Like I want to intake food a lot of the time. Like I just want to, and I shame myself when I do. But like with the fruit diet, I was like that you can eat as much fruit as you want, like nonstop. And I was like, this is fucking cool. Like I just get to indulge in fruit and so like it removed the shaming side of any like shame that I gave myself when I was eating food.
And so what were the weight results?
I lost 18 pounds in 20 days. I wasn't trying to lose weight.
You were pretty much eating unlimited fruit?
Yeah.
Because that's interesting that you say that, because I know a lot of people, doctors, they destroy juice because they say fruit has so much sugar that if you're drinking fruit juice, you're just basically drinking sugar.
Yeah.
And so I know it's been much different because you're getting a lot of fiber, but I was curious about the weight loss.
Fiber is the most underrated nutrient, like for sure. There's a book called Fiber Fueled. It talks all about it, and nobody talks about how damn good fiber is for you. And so That's
Interesting.
that's kind of like another piece of it, where the fiber, like the gut microbiome is such a big thing now.
Yeah.
And like fiber is the ingredient, the thing that clears that shit out, and like it does the best work on your gut.
Wow.
Which your gut impacts your mental health and impacts the way you think and the way you feel and how sick you get or how sick you don't.
Yeah, the gut's big.
Yeah.
Wait, so now I have another question. Are you vegan then, or are you like, do you avoid eating meat?
No. I just got back from like a 2-month trip around Europe, Israel, just like I was indulging in all the foods, like, and I enjoyed it. I would say like goal is like 80% raw vegan if I can. Like if I can eat only raw foods, so like eat nuts, raw vegetables, raw fruits, like 80%. If I can do that, I feel so damn good. And then like I can indulge in other things. I'll eat anything. I'll eat anything.
Dude, that's interesting because I know protein's very hyped up.
Yeah.
I think it's hyped up because it's like the muscle builder. And carnivore diet's hyped up right now too. It's so funny. There's so many things that are hyped up. Like carnivore diet's like so popular right now, and so is the vegan diet. And they're literally just complete opposites.
I think the whole like lesson behind this whole thing, it's not even like regarding like nutrients or fitness. It's like, it's literally all about like, regardless of what you're trying to shift or change or make impact in your life, it's all so personalized. It's all about you and like what's in, like how you react to it and how like, and so all the answers are within. And you just like, I think the biggest thing that I've realized recently, like being in the personal development, like so indulging on all the information in this world, like constantly, and it was good information. Like I'm constantly like taking in all the best like positive content for 4 years after I went through this shift in college. 4 years of just nonstop listening. And then I realized like, let's slow down a little bit. Like everybody in this world is listening to the news, listening to social media, listening to all this, all that. And we're never listening to ourselves. Like never, nobody listens to themselves. Like nobody spends the time to listen to themselves. So I started doing that, and specifically with monotasking. Like I do my best to not multitask in any sense anymore. So like when I'm cooking food, when I'm literally chopping food, I cut off the podcast. I don't want to listen to the podcast. I want to just do what I'm doing and do it to the best of my ability. And the mindfulness, it just allows me to like just feel and react and know what is doing good for me and what's not.
Oh, that's a big one. I really struggle with that. And I think it does come from the self-help space. Just from background for the audience, like I was obsessed with self-help, and you were too. So reading every book, all your social media feeds are self-help. And I think compared to some other social media feeds, like if they were all political or all like, it's a great space to be in, but I was just so like optimize that I ran into two problems. One is like, what is this for? If everything I wanted was given to me right now, the money, the dreams, the possessions, like would I be happier? Would I enjoy this lifestyle? So that was the first one. But the second one was when you think in that terms of optimize, you end up being the person who's cooking while listening to a podcast. And then that's fine to cook and listen to a podcast, but then you're driving and you're listening to a podcast and then an audiobook and then reading and then doing this and this and this and this. And it actually destroys your focus. It makes you a worse worker. At least for me, it's made me a much worse worker as I find myself, as a podcaster, I like to review my game footage. I like to watch the podcast back. And when I sit to watch them back, I can't. Because if I'm sitting there just to watch the podcast, it's not what I've ever done. I've always listened to podcasts while driving and listening. So I'm trying to critique myself and learn and get better. But I'm watching my own stuff and I'm just freaking...
Yeah.
I need to, let me do this while watching. Let me do this while watching. And then if you're doing something while watching, you can't be a good critique. And I've realized that monotasking is something I really, really struggle with. And so it's interesting to hear you point that out. And I haven't even heard a word for that, but the monotasking of just being present. I think another benefit of that too, as many people have heard this quote, but if you think about the past, you get depressed. If you think about the future, you get anxious. If you want to be happy, live in the present. And what you're doing when you're multitasking or when you're so obsessive about success or a goal is you just live in the future. Mm-hmm. It's funny because in high school I was a very depressed kid, and I was depressed for dumb reasons, like, oh, this girl didn't like me, or oh, I was weird, or I was the smallest kid on the football team. I'd think about all these things in the past, and then I turned my life around by kind of how you turn your life around, going into all these self-help spaces and like diving into mentors and people. And I like, first of all, I gained pride, I gained ego. I thought I was better than people, which is terrible. But second of all, I just switched one problem for the other, which was I went from depression to being anxious because my ideal life existed entirely in the future. I wanted a million subscribers. I wanted my dream car, my dream house. And so if all the things you ever think about are in the future, then you'll never have them. And all anxiety is the tension of what you want and what you can't, and not having it. And so that's why I love that idea of monotasking, because even if you're a millionaire and you have your dream car, dream house, what are you going to do? You're probably going to cook your meal. You're probably, you can hire a private chef, but you're going to want to just enjoy the tasks you're doing anyway. So why wait till the future to be mindful and enjoy the present? And
dude, that's so real, man. Like monotasking, I keep forgetting it, but I need to give credit to that specific thing that helped me step away from my last job. Like, there's 3 things for sure. It's one, surrounding myself with creative individuals, very mindful, conscious individuals, monotasking, and then meditation. Like, it was just like those 3 things like made me realize that everybody in this world has this greatness, has this uniqueness, this like almost divinity within them. You just have to listen to it, and you have to slow down and like let's see what's inside. And like, I'd never viewed myself as a creative individual my whole life. I never did. And now I know there's something in here. I don't know exactly what it's going to turn into, but I know there is something in here because I've just found this deeper connection to myself. And one thing I do want to say on this, like, you and I both were in this like grind of learning, consuming all this and that. And like, we learned a lot, and like, we built this amazing foundation of that, like, was perfect. Like, it's perfect. Like, it's exactly what we needed. And now we can step away a little bit. So I think you might be in the realm where you're just like, you're building this foundation of like learn. And I think that's okay. Like, I think you might have to be in that season. And just like, I think about the foundation that we've built over the past, I don't know how long you've been indulging in the work, but it's like, this foundation is only going to either be maintained or it's going to grow. I know it's going to grow. I'm going to continue to grow my foundation of personal development and who I am. And like, somebody said to me the other night, I was in Barcelona, it was like late night, and he just came up to me. He's an entrepreneur, older like individual, came up to me and he just like said, congratulations to me. I'm like, what have I done? Like, he's like, congratulations on your success, man. And I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, what have I done? And then I was like thinking about it. I'm like, damn, I am actually successful. I've built such a nuts foundation the last 4 years that like, it does, like, I'm successful. Like, and just like changing that. I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's huge.
I have so many things to say, but I'll start with that idea of success, because literally it's the way you measure success. Money, possessions, achievement, status, generally those things are in the future. I could be a millionaire right now, but what does every millionaire want? To be a 10 millionaire. What does every million subscribers want? To be 10 million subscribers. And changing that metric of success to relationships primarily is my main metric. It's allowed me to be like, hey, this is a podcast. Most people would click post on this podcast, and then they would go, they're going to wait to find out if they're successful. They're going to go, based on how many views, based on how many likes, based on how many streams this podcast gets, I'll decide if that episode was a success. But to me, I care. I care about the audience too. I want them to enjoy what they're listening to. But the success is here. If I can call you and you're my friend and we had a good time doing this, like relationships, and this is going to be a memory. So
absolutely,
this is the win, and I really hope that does well, but if it could get 0 views, then it's okay, and that's really interesting. The other thing too, how we were talking about consume, like you become this information sponge. You're reading every book, listening to every podcast, talking to every mentor. I'm not 100% sure it was this guy, but I think it was Arlen Moore who said this. He basically said, the happiest people create more than they consume. And I've written that in my weekly journal for the past year. Just create more than you consume. Create more than you consume. So if I'm listening to a podcast, well, I gotta post a podcast. I gotta post a video. I gotta make art. And I find, dude, I'm so literally. I keep a daily journal, like a journal. It's a guided journal, so it's like what made me happy today. How did I help others? Blah blah blah. And I always find, if it's a day where I consumed more than I created, I'm less happy. And if it's a day I created more than I consumed, I'm more happy. So that was a huge life changer for me.
That is wild. So I literally had a conversation with somebody about this. Like I said this, I was like, man, if they did a study on people who, if they studied people and like they figured out if they were creating or consuming more, I guarantee the people that were creating have more happiness. Like I don't know, I just felt that. And then also going back to the relationship thing where, and we're still talking about happiness, heard this quote that's just gonna stick with me forever. It's happiness cannot be obtained or cannot be achieved if it's not shared.
Yeah.
It's like there's stories of these people that have gone and traveled the world and stuff, and like they've done it all solo and they've done really cool things, but like the happiness they had like wasn't anything because they didn't share it with anybody.
Well, shout out to Elliot Bisno. There was a quote in a podcast that changed my whole perspective, my whole life, and it's another huge contributor to this podcast. There's a few really big things, the reason why I started this. But Elliot, our mentor, not going to go in depth and explain him, but he knows billionaires, he knows millionaires, he knows every company owner you can think of. He's traveled the world. He's had the craziest experiences. And someone asked him on a podcast, what's the best part about being an entrepreneur? And this guy's bought a $40 million model when he's 25. And he said the best part about being an entrepreneur is having co-founders. And dude, that hit me so hard because at the time I was grinding YouTube. And I would have people in my videos, but this is what my process looked like. I plan the videos alone at home. I go film the videos. I'm the main actor in my videos. Sometimes our friends come. I go edit the videos alone. I post them alone. And then I wait for the results alone.
Wow.
And I was like, if I had 10 million subscribers right now and unlimited money, would I want to do this?
Wow.
I was like, no. And so I said, even if I do the podcast, at the very least, every episode I get to share it with one other person. And that was like a huge reason that I chose to do it. It was just the idea of sharing. And I watched Chris and Max and Simon and Ryan and Christina build Creator Camp. And I'm like, Chris told me a story once for their first Creator Camp event where there was this big YouTuber, Anne-Marie, who's now my friend, where she had mentioned 17 minutes into a vlog that she was going to Creator Camp. And he said that him and his co-founders were all sitting around the computer and they're playing the moment over and over again. And they were like, she said she's going to Creator Camp. She said she's going to Creator Camp. But think about how lame that moment is if you're alone. It's like, oh, this girl's going to Creator Camp. Like, let's go win.
Wow.
But with your co-founders, it's like, It's a huge win. That's
damn.
Another thing that I love about Elliot is he invests in all these people. So he's give. So then when Creator Camp blows up, that's a win for Elliot. And whenever YouTube blows up, that's a win for Elliot. And I treat my podcast with relationships first, so that everyone I interview, I'm like really preying on their success. Because it's just it's so much of a better lifestyle. And you think about these entrepreneurs, why does almost every entrepreneur, big actor, successful YouTuber ends their career with philanthropy? It's because they've had it all, and then they finally realize giving is better than getting. It's like, it's so common to end your career with philanthropy. And a lot of people have this mindset that I don't have anything to give right now, especially kids our age. They go, I don't have money, so I don't have anything to give right now. Or once I get successful, I'm going to work on giving back to people more. And I'll tell you honestly right now, I do not have money, like none at all. But the best gift you can give is your time. There's a pastor who gave me this sermon, and it's a 3-point sermon that I really love. And he said, the best use of life is love. The best expression of love is time. the best time to love is now. I'm going to say it one more time for the viewers. The best way to live is love. The best expression of love is time. The best time to love is now. And when you get in this mindset of go, 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 entrepreneur, hustle, 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 the thing that people tell you over and over and over again is surround yourself with successful people. Surround yourself with successful people. And that's a good thing, but it's so easy to build an ego. It's so easy to be like, oh, I can't hang with my old friends, or I can't hang with those people because they're not adding to me. But little do you know that what would make you the happiest is by helping those people, by adding to their lives. And it's just so interesting. I know I'm like kind of ranting right now, but
that was money.
There's one of my favorite traits of Jesus. I'm a Christian. One of my favorite friggin' traits of Jesus is being interruptible. So I think that everyone has a granular vision, or everyone has like granular tasks and they have a vision. So a granular task is your to-do list. That's like, all right, today I want to film a podcast. I want to work out. I want to journal. That's my granular. And then my vision is I want to build the Soul Wealth brand. Now, Jesus had a more important granular vision than me. He was healing people on a daily basis, preaching to people, like casting out demons, like literally just affecting people's lives. His granular was more important than mine. And if you really believe the Jesus story, which I know some people in the audience don't, he had the most important vision was literally saving the world. Like, I'm going to go die for your sins. But in time and time again in the Bible, when Jesus is on his way to go heal, or when he's on his way to go preach, these poor people, these people who are prostitutes, these tax collectors would yell at him, like, Jesus. And he always stops. He turns around and he listens to them. He turns around and listens. Sometimes he heals them. Sometimes he gives them what he wants. But constantly throughout the story of Jesus, he allows himself to be interrupted. And so many entrepreneurs are too busy to be interrupted. They're too good to be interrupted. My day's too important. My work's too important. But think about Elliot. Think about all Elliot's done for us. Elliot has a millionaire friends. He runs a $1 million company. But when I FaceTime him, I've never met him, he picks up the phone. How freaking amazing is that? He freaking picks up the phone. And it means the world to me. And that's something I'm trying to take on, is that trait of being interruptible. Because we're not that important, you know? Like, and that's why the Soul Wealth message is like, how do you want to be remembered when you die? Like, I don't want to be remembered as someone who had all these things. Everyone wants to be remembered for what they did for others, but then they live for themselves, which is such an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah. Dude, that hits home.
Yeah.
One of the pillars that Tommy, my ex-boss, stood on is you want to surround yourself with net givers. And what that means is like net, you want to be giving more than taking. Yeah. And I feel like as young adults, it's very easy to just be a taker. It's like, can I pick your brain? Can I let me just take. Like, let me just grab from you. Every little last second of information. Let me get it all. And I think it's very hard. You said it earlier, like, it's very hard for us to understand, like, we have things to give. Yeah. Like for you said, you don't have a lot of money, like, don't, in this situation, like, what do you give? How do you give to the world? Time is the best gift you could ever give. Time and acknowledgement. I remember in high school, I was a lonely kid, but I wasn't poor. I came from a good family. But if someone had walked up and started a conversation with me, like, that would have meant the world to me. And girls I liked, what did I want from that? I wanted their attention. And so this goes as far too when you're at an event like Base Camp. It's so easy to be like, who's the big dogs? Who's the guys I want to meet? Who's this? But I try, and I do lack at this. I'm not going to say I'm some friggin'... I pick people I like more, but I think of super important skills when you're at a party or you're at an event, like, just notice who's alone, who's not included. Be a freaking includer. And that's what I hate about LA. LA is such an excluding city. It's, how do I go somewhere where other people aren't? How do I look exclusive? But I want to be someone who's an includer. If someone's on the outside of the circle, bring them in. Making people feel important is just so big. And that's what I really think that you can give is time and making people feel important. I don't know. Do you have anything to add? Yeah, I mean, you did it last night too. Like, I was sharing where my vision is, what I'm hoping to work towards, you instantly were like, oh, dude, I got a guy to connect you to. Like you got to connect you to this guy. So the connections and the introductions are so cool. And then, yeah, I mean, I think you said something about attention or acknowledgement.
Yeah.
There's this thing where it's like sometimes like me being in the sales role, specifically in like an event space, a retreat space, is a very difficult sales process. It takes a long time to build a relationship and tell them to come to a self-help retreat to dive in deep on your heart and in your inner struggles. One of the biggest things that like I'll remember is that like sometimes literally acknowledgement and attention is more valuable than the actual benefit you give to somebody. So like as a salesperson, you think about the benefit that you're going to give to somebody, like the retreat, the event, the product. But it's like sometimes just giving attention to your client and just like checking in, literally a simple text, like, you know, how you do it, like just thinking of you, just like saw this, like take a snapshot of a picture that like reminds you of something about them, like you saw on the road or something. And just like attention can be it can be more valuable than giving them a benefit. Like I think that everybody can give attention at all times. Like you said, give time. So
2 podcasts ago, I talked to this guy. He's a YouTuber, and he's gotten lucky to score some big collabs. And he said, I asked him, do you keep in touch with any of those people you collab with? And he said, no, I don't want to bother them. Like they gave me this great gift of collabing with me, and I actually respect where he's coming from, because he's coming from like, I don't want to take more than I'm given. But I find so often, and this used to be a big flaw of mine, is that there's these creators, these people that have money or they have followings, and we treat them like they're untouchables. Like, oh, like, can I get 5 minutes of your time? Can I pick your brain? And it's like, you're not the only one treating them like that. Like, everyone who's not on their level is probably treating them like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's YouTubers that I've met through Basecamp or that I've met here that I'll just shoot FaceTimes. I'll just hit them up. I'll just text them. I'm like, dude, what these people really want is not another fan. They want a friend. And I think that's so interesting. Again, it goes to how you measure success. If I'm looking at people for your likes, your money, well, of course, I'm going to compare you to mine. And if you're higher than me, you're higher than me. But if I say, no, I look at you for this relationship and the memories we have together, then we're all equals. And it just, I have to give huge credit to the Bible and religion because it just smacks in you like, kill your pride, kill your pride, kill your pride. And it is a strong belief of mine that pride is the root of most negative things. It's like, why do you even want money and status? It's a pride thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to be on this, we're playing a social game and I'm going to be higher, or it's just, I don't know. It's so interesting, human dynamics.
Yeah. The YouTube thing that you just shared was like, I think it's very interesting. One thing that you hit on earlier that like is gonna stick with me forever.
Yeah.
Talking about how like when you get that like 100,000 subscriber or the Creator Camp boys get there, that girl that posted about them or whatever, and you're by yourself when you experience that, like you can literally FaceTime somebody who's way ahead of the game and you're in the YouTube game. They have thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but if you FaceTime them and they celebrate their experience with you, like they probably are just looking for somebody to celebrate their experiences and their like, because they could be in that lonely state of like, damn, I just hit this milestone, but who can I tell? Who can I talk to you about? It's like literally you can give people in that way by just literally just asking them, like, you know, or like just learning about their celebrations. And then the last thing I want to touch on this is probably one of my favorite things I've learned this year. Yeah. My mentor, my ex is my boss. Yeah. One of his best buddies is a Navy SEAL, 26 years in the bomb squad, just a freaking legend. Yeah. And I had the pleasure to have weekly calls with him this whole year, and he shared with me, like, whenever he gets in his head, whenever he calls it the enemy, whenever the enemy is attacking, whenever he's getting hit hard and he's just down bad, he does something called an enemy check. And what that means is he realizes when he's getting hit by the enemy, that means other people are getting hit by the enemy. Especially like people like you and me, where we do this work all the time, where we're literally waking up in the morning doing the work so we can beat the enemy. But like the enemy still hits us. We're like, damn, like imagine our friends that aren't doing the work. They're definitely getting smacked by the enemy. So when the enemy's hitting you, you do an enemy check and you literally call somebody else and you just check on them to see if the enemy's hitting them. You don't say anything about you, and then all of a sudden takes you out of the perspective, takes you into their perspective. You're of service, you're giving value, and just like that, you're out of your own head. And that's how I have overcame so many times of like isolation and like being in my head. It's like I'll just shoot a FaceTime and just check in on if the enemy's hitting them, and usually the enemy is, and it's just perfect timing. And that's a really cool tool I've used.
It's a really interesting example of, I would say, of giving too. That's another way to give.
Yeah. Checking
in on your friends and calling them. Like the phrase I used earlier, time is an expression of love. I have friends, there's one person in specific I'm thinking of, and it's going to sound like a resentment thing, but it's really not, who tells me all the time he loves me, like, not all the time, but he'll comment on my videos or something and be like, dude, I love you, bro. But I'll send him a text, he won't ever respond. He won't ever call me. I shoot him FaceTimes, he doesn't get back to me. And I'm like, you've told me to my face that you love me, but your actions make me feel that you don't. And it's not that I'm not sitting here like, oh, like I'm mad at him. I'm not mad at him, but I'm very aware. And like everyone's heard the term like actions speak louder than words, but you're going to directly feel closest to, and you're going to directly feel the most loved by the people who give you the most time. It's the truth. And so that's why I try to be someone who calls my friends. I try to say, oh, even if I'm deep in work, I can lose my flow and answer this call, because I'd rather be remembered as someone who answered the call than someone who was super productive. And that's like,
jeez.
And it's because it's thinking from that perspective of love. You never go, oh, that person has accomplished so much, so I love them the most. You go, that person like gave me so much of their time. Like you think about your parents, even just the idea, I know not everyone loves their parents or they've had abusive parents, but why do you think in 90% of situations, people love their parents more than anyone else on earth? It's because they sacrificed their entire life for you. They gave all their time for you. Just like we're busy right now, and we're going to get busier in the next 10 years, that's where your parents were before they gave all their time to you. They had a whole schedule of busyness, and they said, for the rest of my life, I'm going to dedicate time to you. And that's like, time is a reflection of love. There was a second thing, though, I really wanted to touch on, which was how we were talking about earlier. What is it for? Why am I getting followers? Why am I getting money? Okay, something that really tripped me out was this idea of there's people here right now that have millions of subscribers. There's people that make probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars here. And they're here and I'm here. I have like $400 in my bank account and I have like 500 subscribers. But they're here and I'm here. We're in the same place. We're in the same place.
Wow.
So what? What does it matter? If I'm here and they're here, who cares the fact that they have 100,000 they got? There's a story that Tim Ferriss writes about where this businessman, he's like a multimillionaire. He goes to a village in Mexico for a vacation. And while he's on this village in Mexico, he sees a fisherman. And the fisherman's working hard to fish and provide for his family. He goes, you're a hard worker. You should come to America and work for me, and I'll pay you more money than you've ever seen. And the fisherman says, nah, I'm good. I like my life here. And he goes, but I can change your life. I can give you millions of dollars to give you your dream life. He goes, nah, I like my life here. The corporate guy goes back to his job, works 10 years, retires. He talks to his wife. He goes, where do you want to retire? They said, oh, that village town was quite nice in Mexico. They moved to Mexico and they retire with family fishing on the beach. They're in the same place. They end up in the same place. Wow. And it's so funny if you don't live in the future. It's like when you're in that room with all your heroes, so much of them have accomplished more than you, but you're in the same place. You're living the same life, at least for that moment. And so that was like a shattering thing for me that I thought about. It was like, we're here. I don't know. That was really...
That's next level.
Yeah.
I love that, dude.
Anything else? Oh, dude, I almost didn't ask you my outro question. Okay. I previewed it. I ask every single guest this, and it's from the perspective of soul wealth. When you die, what do you want people to say about you?
Nice. Yeah.
That's a good.
This is tough because I'm just thinking of like exactly what my ex-boss would answer this question to. I'm gonna answer it that way, and then see if something else comes. But grateful hearts, a grateful heart and no regrets is what he always said.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a legendary life is you leave this place with a grateful heart and no regrets. For me, I think just want to be known as just the definition of a net giver or server, just like purely just serving and I don't know.
That's interesting. I always challenge people to answer the question for the perspective of you died, your friends or people who know you are having a conversation about you. What do you want them to say? Actually say.
He was just a ball of light. Everywhere he went, there's the biggest light to the world, the largest light.
And that's such an important question, is because if you want people to say that you were light and you want them to say that you were giving, then you should be constantly asking yourself, am I giving? Am I being a light? And going back to the main theme of this podcast, which is, I would say, giving more than getting. I like to think of this, and I just came up with a quote to go with it, so I'm excited to share it, is you're like a little flame. You're like a little flame. And every time you help someone, you grow, your flame grows a little bit. And the more and more you help someone, the more and more big your flame is, and people will notice that. So if I go up to like a big entrepreneur or a big celebrity and go, yo, here's my flame, like take me in, you're not that much of a light. But if I go and I help this person, I help this person, I help this person, and over here I build a friggin' campfire of just helping people who are all below me, so often will the celebrity that you wanted to start with or reach out will notice you over here. And literally take Creator Camp for an example. They didn't try to get these million subscriber YouTubers. At first, they just got people like me. They invited me. I have 500 subscribers. They invited you. You're not even out there.
You know that shit.
But guess who's looking at him? Elliot's looking at him. Now he's playing Frisbee with YouTubers on tens of millions of subscribers because they say, oh, look at Basecamp. They've stopped looking up and stopped looking at all these people above them and said, how do we create our little thing here? And the fire analogy that I thought of is only one person uses a lighter. A group of people sits around a campfire, and when a forest is on fire, the whole world notices. So it's like, if you don't be a lighter. Like, maybe start with a campfire and then set the friggin' forest on fire, and the whole world will notice. And you bring fire by helping others. That's what I like to say.
Cheers to that. And the last thing with that, I shared this yesterday. That politician that I heard give a talk a few months ago. She talks about if you want to make world change, all you need is 3.5% of people to get on your movement and to get on board with you. And I think that's very achievable. And I think you and I are on that wave, and we're hopefully one step closer to getting. I want to round it up to 4%. Yeah, 4% of people on the movement, on the wave of soul wealth. Bro, I love that. Hopefully we're one more step closer.
All right, bro, bring it in.
Yes, sir, brother. Yeah, shit.
Bro, this guy looks good. Look at him. You're in stand up. Got towers over me. All right. That was great, huh? 1 hour and 4.